Welcome everyone to the new session in physics. Today our topic is error and types of error. As we mentioned in the previous class, what do you mean by error? Error means the difference in the actual value of a quantity and the value obtained by the measurement, or actual value minus measured value is known as error in a measurement. Whatever measurement we take, there are possibilities of error. Even if you measure the length of the side of a notebook, you will get different values among yourself. So that difference between actual value and measured value is called as error. The errors in a measurement are broadly classified into two: systematic error and random error. Systematic error, as the name suggests, it occurs in a systematic way. See, it is clear from the definition of error, the error can be positive or negative. If the measured value is greater than the actual value, the error is negative, and if the measured value is less than the actual value, the error will be positive. So the error can be positive or negative. So that positive or negative. So if the error occurs always in the same way, always the error if it is positive, or if the always the error is negative, we say that the error is a systematic error. That's what we mean by systematic error. So due to constant reason, that type of error will be occurring. That means the causes for that error remains the same. Since it is remaining uncorrected, that causes for the error, the same error repeats in the same manner. Such types of error we call as systematic error. Random error occurs due to some unforeseen reasons. We cannot predict how that error is coming, when does that error arises. Such things we do not know. Such errors we call as random errors. The systematic error can occur mainly due to three reasons. One reason can be about the instrument. That means the error can be an instrumental error due to an imperfect instrument which we are using. Second one is the faulty technique or the imperfect experimental technique which we are following in the measurement. Due to that, systematic error may occur. The third one is the personal error, or it may be due to the incorrect process what the person is following in taking the measurement. So likewise, the systematic error, the reason for systematic error can be of three. So one by one we will discuss. So first one, due to imperfect instrument. So as the figure shows, perfect balance and imperfect balance. So you can compare the both. By zooming, you can see the difference in the two balances. So the measurement taken by the imperfect balance will either be showing a positive error or a negative error. That is sure. Okay, so once if it is showing positive error, again and again it will show the same positive error. Okay, so it is a systematic error. So due to the instrumental error, the systematic error can occur. One more example we can say for instrumental error. In the case of the scale or ruler which we are using, if that beginning zero is rubbed off, and using that scale if you are taking measurement, always you will be making mistakes with that measurements. Okay, it may be either positive or negative. So that is with the problem of instrument. Okay, wrong calibration of the instrument. You might have seen some local ruler or something in which the measurements are totally wrong. Such instrument boxes, max we are using instrument box, no, some local instrument box instruments will come in which the instruments are wrongly calibrated. Okay, so such things, so in such case we call that error as an instrumental error. So this shows that imperfect balance, you can see. Now the second thing, that means the systematic error can be due to the imperfect experimental technique which we are following. One simple example we take, it's a usual practice that when we go to clinics or doctor to consult in case of fever and all, it is a usual practice that they keep the thermometer in the armpit. Okay, in the armpit the thermometer will be kept and they will be taking the temperature. But the thing is this, in the temperature shown by that method will always be less than the actual temperature. You know where it should be kept? It should be kept in the mouth under the tongue. That is the apt method. But due to some hygienic problems and issues and all, these nurses, where we go, they will be keeping it in the armpit only. Okay, so that keeping in the armpit is a wrong method, whereas keeping in the mouth under the tongue is the correct one. So this type of error will occur if we are following the wrong experimental procedure. That is the case. So due to that also this type of systematic error will come. Now next, the way the person takes the measurement, that means even if the instrument is correct or if the experimental procedure is correct, the way the person approaches that measurement, because of that the measurement may go wrong. Okay, you can see this, where the instrument or where the measurement is to be taken, there your eyes should be straight with that. That means you should not take the measurement from sides. This mostly this happens while we deal with what measurements in ammeter, voltmeter, galvanometer, etc. See, in such cases you have to keep your eyes parallel to the dial of such meters. Okay, your eyes should be parallel, exactly straight to the dial of those instruments. Then only you will get the correct measurements. Otherwise there will be error called parallax error. It is due to the change in the position of the object, no, due to the change in points of observation. So that error you can call as parallax error. Okay, so to avoid parallax error, you should always, so it is a practice which you should follow in lab also. That means wherever you are taking measurement, no, your eyes should be kept parallel to the dial or meter, whatever you are using. So to avoid systematic errors, what we can do is follow or use good instruments which is nicely calibrated without any problems, good instruments. And second one is follow the correct experimental procedure, and the third one is be proper in taking measurement. Try to avoid personal bias as possible. How much we can avoid such personal problems, that much you have to avoid such things. By that way we can reduce the systematic errors. Now next we will discuss the random errors. So random errors, as I told, random errors are those errors which occur irregularly and hence they are random with respect to the sign and size. That means with respect to sign and size means what? We cannot say whether it will be positive or negative. All on a sudden such what errors may occur. Okay, so if you are taking or if you are doing some heat related experiments, suddenly if the wind comes or something, or if we are doing some experiments in when we are coming to the lab, no, that time you will see when suddenly if somebody switches on the fan, it may affect resonance column and sonometer apparatus. Such things are there. So the changes in the surroundings suddenly affecting the measurement. In such a way random errors may come. So we cannot predict what is the reason for that random errors. Here we have shown voltage fluctuation. That is evident in our houses also. We cannot predict when this voltage fluctuation comes, especially in this climate and all. Then the second one, due to some mechanical vibration. So if some measurement is taken, and if some vibration comes for that instrument, then the measurement will go wrong. But we cannot predict it, whether it is positive or negative. Okay, such errors are called as what? Random errors. Next, one more type of error we usually mention, that is least count error. Least count error is the error associated with the resolution of the instrument. What do you mean by resolution of the instrument? Means least count itself. Okay, least count, the lowest value what can be measured using that particular instrument is called as least count, and that least count only stands for resolution. Okay, so least count error of any instrument will be equal to its resolution. Resolution means what? Least count. Okay, so if you are measuring the length of a pen using your scale which you are having, the length of the pen is likely to be within. So it is shown, you can see in the picture 4.7 it is shown. So when due to some reasons it may go to 4.8 or it may go to 4.6. That's what usually happens. The personal bias and all, when it comes, no, it may be between 4.8 and 4.6. That's what it is written. The length of the pen is likely to be within 4.7 plus or minus 0.1 centimeter. 4.7 plus 1 plus 0.1 means 4.8, minus 0.1 means 4.6. So anybody when take the measurement, they will get the measurement between 4.6 and 4.8. So that is about least count error. So this picture, no, this shows more about this least count error. See, there are several scales shown. 4 scales are being shown here with different least count values. You can see in the first case, the least count is 1 centimeter. And second case, the least count is 0.5 centimeter. And third case, it is 0.2. And the fourth case, it is least count 1 millimeter. That is the scale which we are using. So in which case least count is less? In the fourth one. So the least count error also will be less in what? The fourth scale. So lower the least count of the instrument, lower will be the error in the measurement. So least count error can be minimized using instruments of low least count. Okay. Now in measuring length, we have another 2 apparatus called vernier calipers and screw gauge with still smaller least count. Okay, vernier calipers in measuring thickness of cylindrical bodies and all, no, glass balls, glass balls, its diameter can be measured using vernier calipers. Okay, then diameter of a glass, the glass which we are using to drink water and all, that its diameter can be accurately measured using vernier calipers. Okay, so for such things, for accurate measurements, we can use vernier calipers because its least count is 0.01 centimeter, which is less than the least count of the scale which we are using. Another instrument with still smaller least count value is screw gauge with least count of 0.001 centimeter. So more accurate readings we will get. The screw gauge is used to measure thickness of sheet and all, no, some sheets may be there, to find its thickness or to find the thickness of a wire you might have seen. So in such cases we can use screw gauge. Now we are going to discuss a topic called error analysis, in which we will be finding absolute error, relative error and percentage error. So mathematical steps are involved. Be very careful. Okay. So we already said the experimental procedure what we follow in determining the actual value or the true value of a measurement is to take or repeat the measurements a number of times and take the arithmetic mean to find the true value. Okay, so such a situation we are considering a particular measurement where the measurements taken are considered to be A1, A2, A3, A4, etc. up to AN, so that its arithmetic mean we denote it as A mean. It is A1 plus A2 plus A3 plus etc. plus AN by N. Okay, I think you know this, how to find the mean. Add everything, then divide it with the number of that measured values. So that is specified by the next equation. I hope this symbol is known to you. Summation I equal to 1 to n ai by n. So as the value of I changes, you will have a1, a2, a3 like that. Now this A mean is the true value of the measurement. True value or actual value of the measurement is taken as what? A mean. So if you have A mean, you can find the absolute error in any measurement by finding the difference between true value and measured value. So very important equation we have here. Absolute error delta A. It's written within two what lines. It stands for that modulus. Modulus value means what? You need not consider its sign. Even if we have written true value minus measured value, in case if the measured value is greater than true value, you can take it as measured value minus true value. In short, what you have to find is the difference between true value and measured value. It can be either true value minus measured value or measured value minus true value. Means even if there are possibilities of positive error and negative error, in finding absolute error, you need not look at its sign. Without sign, you need to calculate the absolute error. So what is our true value? Once again, true value means A mean. So each time you will be finding the absolute error like this. Got it? So delta A1 is A1 minus A mean. Delta A2 is A2 minus A mean, etc. up to delta AN you will find like this. Okay. But delta A is always positive. That way we are finding. You need not consider the sign. Simply find the difference. Hope you got how to find absolute error. Now, after getting absolute errors in each measurement, you need to find average absolute error or mean absolute error. So, what was the first step? First step was to find A mean, the true value. Then you have to find the absolute errors in each measured value. Then after getting that each absolute error, you have to find the average absolute error or the mean absolute error. So how will you find the mean absolute error? By finding the sum of all absolute errors and by dividing it with the number of measured values. That way you will find the mean absolute error. So we have found both A mean and delta A mean. So how will you quote the result? That means quoted value of the measurement or result of the measurement. How will you say? You can say that A, that means the measured value, it will lie between A mean minus delta A mean and A mean plus delta A mean. Okay, this is how you will quote the measurement. Got it? How will you quote the measurement? This is the way to quote the measurement. A mean minus delta A mean less than or equal to A less than or equal to A mean plus delta A mean. What do you mean by that? If anybody takes a measurement, the measurement is correct if it lies between A mean minus delta A mean and A mean plus delta A mean. In the case of that measurement of pen length, we said no, 4.7 if we are getting, we can say it is 4.7 plus or minus 0.1. In the same way, here the measurement will come as, or the quoted value will come as A plus or minus delta A mean. A mean plus or minus delta A mean. The meaning of that is this, that is A mean minus delta A mean less than or equal to A less than or equal to A mean plus delta A mean. Now finding relative error. So in error analysis, there are several steps. So next step in the error analysis is relative error. Relative error represented by delta A is the other delta A by A. That means delta A mean by A mean. You can see two delta here. The delta on left hand side is small letter delta and that on right hand side is capital letter delta. Okay, so both stands for delta. So relative error delta A equal to delta A mean by A mean. Only equations involved. So study well. Now if the relative error is multiplied with 100, that error becomes percentage error. So getting the relative error, you can easily find the percentage error by multiplying it with 100. So once again, what are the steps involved in error analysis? First step is to find the true value, that is by finding the arithmetic mean of all the measured value. Next step is to find the absolute error in each measured value, and after that we will find the mean absolute error, delta A mean. After finding delta A mean, you have to quote the measurement, that is between what all values the measured value lies. That is, it lies between A mean minus delta A mean and A mean plus delta A mean. Next step is to find relative error, and the last step in the error analysis is to find the percentage error. Now we will go for an example. Using these information, we will do all these steps taking one example. That example is the measurement of the oscillation period of a pendulum with a stopwatch 5 times. That means we are finding the time period of oscillation of a simple pendulum. One pendulum is being shown there. Its time period we are measuring. What do you mean by time period? Time taken for one oscillation. Okay, time taken for one oscillation we are considering as time period, and 5 times we are taking the measurement. With a stopwatch we are taking the measurement, and the trial numbers and measured values are given there. So instead of A, they have used, here we have used what? X. So both way you can write that X and A, it's not a matter for us. What we are doing, the steps are more important. So 5 times, so first time the measured value is 3.9 second, second time 3.5, third time 3.6, fourth time 3.7, and fifth time it is 3.5. Then first step is to find the arithmetic mean. That arithmetic mean is shown as x bar. So we are getting it as 3.64. It is rounded to 3.6. Okay, so that rounding we will discuss it in coming days. Significant figures and rounding we will be discussing. At that time I will explain how to round the measured value to the prescribed places. So here we have 3.64. One reason I will tell now itself. See, here in the measured values we have only one decimal place. That means after the decimal point only one place is there, one integer is there, or one number is there. So it means that only that much precision the measurement is having. Okay, if the instrument which we were using of higher precision means lower least count, we could have got the measured values like 3.9 to 3.53, like that one more place would have been there. To get such measured values, that much less the least count of the measuring device should be. But here it is not there. So precision is only up to one decimal place. Okay, so when we find arithmetic mean of all measured values, there also we need to stick on to that much precision only. What precision the measured value is having, that much precision only our true value also should be having. So you need not write 3.64, you have to write as what? 3.6. Hope you followed. Now finding absolute error in each individual reading. You can see we have calculated the error, that means 3.9 minus 3.6, 0.3, 3.9 or 3.6 minus 3.5, 0.1, 3.6 minus 3.6, 0, 3.7 minus 3.6, 0.1, 3.6 minus 3.5, 0.1. So absolute errors in each measurement. Once again, I am repeating, there is no need of considering sign. Okay, you need to write that difference only. Then you need to find the average of those values. So the average of those values are 0.6 by 5, that is 0.12, which is equal to 0.1. So after finding the arithmetic mean of absolute errors, there also we are rounding as per that same reason what I said earlier. That means here the precision is only up to one place after decimal point. So in that absolute error, mean absolute error also, we need to maintain only one number after decimal point. So the second number onwards, second place onwards, you can round. So in the next session, next class, I'll be doing about rounding. That time it will be clear to you what is meant by rounding. Okay. So how to write the result of measurement? It is A mean plus or minus delta A mean. That means 3.6 plus or minus 0.1 second. Therefore, the relative error, it becomes delta x by x. That means delta A mean by A mean. It becomes 0.1 by 3.6, that is 0.0277. Here we have rounded to two places. In finding relative error and percentage error, such rules we are not following. In finding A mean and delta A mean, we are following the rule which I said. You have to look at the precision of the measurement or the instrument which we are using. Okay, so here relative error we are getting 0.028 and the percentage error by multiplying by 100 it becomes 2.8%. So with that we conclude today's lesson. Thank you.